Welcome back to World Crisis Radio. Remember, you want to keep up with all world affairs at tarpley.net. And this week we have, an interview with me on RT, Russia Today, commenting on Petraeus. We're going to get to this in just a minute now. And we've got some new radio broadcasts. If you look on the media interviews page, plus, you've got to catch up with those two major essays on the Iran war danger, right? One from July 21st and one from August 8th, I guess it is. Now, let's look at Iran. The news this week, and this is now the active front, right? We had a definite policy shift in the U.S. regime. Instead of low danger, we've now got to say extremely high danger. This is corroborated by Fidel Castro, based on his intelligence picture, which includes the operations of a rather capable intelligence agency, the Cuban DGI. They have people all over the place in the State Department and so forth. He's warning of imminent nuclear war. You've got to take that seriously. The chorus from the neocon madmen this past week, the neocon warmonger madmen, including John Bolton, Charles Krauthammer, William Kristol, the Weekly Standard, their line is, the Russians are now about to transfer the fuel rods into the Bushehr nuclear reactor. Those fuel rods, as far as we can tell, have been stored in Iran for many months, but now they're going to be moved. So before the end of August, certainly, within the next 10 days, you're going to have the Bushehr reactor fully loaded to the point where any air attack would then scatter this reasonably enriched uranium to the four winds. It's not exactly clear why anybody thinks that this is a taboo for Israel or the United States. It might be, but you're going to kill a lot of people anyway. Therefore, what these neocons, Bolton, Krauthammer, Kristol, others, are calling for, demanding, and talk radio going wild over this week, you've got to bomb Iran now, is what they're saying. That, of course, would mean not only war with Iran, but it would mean killing large numbers of Russian technicians. So you might find yourself on locked into a confrontation course with Russia, too. But the neocons, as we've seen, never learn. And I would recommend to the dupes and gulls of the Tea Party, watch out for these people, right? When you vote for your Republican candidates, you're going to be putting them back into office. I mean, the neocons, and they may prepare a very spicy dish for you that you're going to find extremely indigestible. Now, we've also got reaction coming to what we discussed last week. This long article in the Atlantic Monthly, this intellectual magazine of the U.S. Ruling elite, right, long tradition, based in Boston Brahmins, financiers, and so forth, their idea of culture. And this contained as we pointed out last week, the Jeffrey Goldberg article on the essentially irrepressible momentum of the Israeli ruling elite towards an attack on Iran, except that this, in many ways, does not add up. I would recommend two articles. One is by a guy called Trita Parsi, P-A-R-S-I. This is obviously an Iranian or Iranian origins, and Gareth Porter. And essentially what they both say, especially the Trita Parsi one, is that this is really a rhetorical posture by the Israeli leaders who are not really in mortal fear of an existential threat to Israel by Iran with a nuclear weapons program which has not been proven, the perspective of moving towards nuclear weapons or coming to the threshold of being a nuclear power, or even having one or two nuclear weapons, of which there is no proof, I stress again and again, that instead you can find quotes from people like Tzipi Livni, the former foreign minister, today the leader of the Kadima opposition, I guess it is, all saying that Iran is manageable, that you can deal with Iran, and as long as it was a question of encouraging the U.S. to support Iran against Iraq, for example, all during the 80s and into the 90s, the Israelis were not on a strong anti-Iranian line, but now they are, and it seems to be motivated by geopolitical interests which are not to be identified with an existential threat. Rather, it's the desire for regime change, the desire to manage away yet another threat. So the entire premises of Goldberg's article in The Atlantic seem to be coming under well-informed attack, especially by Trita Parsi, Gareth Porter, and a couple of others. And I would stress again, the most obvious one is you never proved that there was an Iranian nuclear weapons program. You never even mentioned that national intelligence estimate of the U.S., December 2007, we state with high confidence that there is no Iranian nuclear weapons program. So you think there is one? Great, prove it. Not with innuendo, not with quotes from various hysterical leaders, and so on and so forth. So this is now the situation in that front. There's some interest in the fact of a Stryker brigade crossing the border from Iraq into Kuwait. The 42nd Stryker Brigade, with Richard Engel of NBC News, crossed in the night between Wednesday and Thursday, I guess. And we're supposed to look at this Olbermann on TV live, and MSNBC giving great attention to this because they want Obama to look good. They want Obama to be the guy who finally brought the Iraq war to an end. And, of course, that hasn't happened, has it? Nothing has changed. This was a photo op. This was a market for the dupes arranged by the U.S. Army. They simply arbitrarily said, here, that 42nd Stryker Brigade is the last combat unit, and they're now leaving in the dead of night, and therefore the war in Iraq is over. Well, that is baloney. There are 50,000 troops, which they may not be labeled combat troops, but they are all trained. They can become combat troops in about 2 seconds, and it's possible that they will sooner rather than later. They're supposedly advisors. Plus, this does not even mention the presence of these contractors, right? The old Blackwater, DynCorp, and the rest of them. They're all there, and they will become more numerous, if anything, as we go towards 2011 and 2012. So the Iraq war grinds on and on and on, and Obama still has, according to my count, more combat troops in the field. And again, let's just say more troops in the field in foreign countries under combat conditions, whatever they say. He's got more combat troops in the field than Bush ever did. So Obama is the warmonger in chief. Now, in the middle of that, we have General Petraeus staking out the obvious issue, which is in Afghanistan now. It is the July 2011 deadline. We know why Obama needs this so much. The demagogue Obama, the warmonger who duped all the pro-peace forces by saying, I'm against the Iraq war, and of course I'm a big warmonger in Afghanistan and Pakistan. They heard the first part. They somehow were constitutionally incapable of hearing the second part. Obama wants to say by July 2011, I have begun the withdrawal. And he needs that because he's going to be looking at the Iowa straw poll. Isolationism and anti-war sentiment in Ohio, historically quite considerable, quite a number of ultra-lefts there in the area of Ames, Iowa, and so forth. A lot of people who are not going to be happy if Obama turns out to be the warmonger-in-chief that he is now. Remember, Governor Rendell of Pennsylvania has told us that if Obama keeps going with his current Afghan policy, it's very likely that there will be a primary challenge to Obama. Well, bring it on. Where is it? We're happy to lend whatever we can in terms of support to that. And we have Mark Plotkin here in Washington, D.C., local political analyst with national pretensions, also saying Obama will face a primary challenger. Great. Let's get on with it. And we'll be back in a minute on World Crisis Radio.